You know, as we continue reading through the scriptures, we get, as we move through the Gospels, finishing the book of Mark and now turning the page into Luke. And I love Luke's Gospel. I love all four of them. But Luke, being a physician by training, he's very orderly, he's structured. His Gospel is the most chronological of all the Gospels. There's one passage that I've never really thought much about until I've been reading through that with you this week. That passage is in chapter 21 of Luke. We've got that wonderful story of the widow. We always say the widow's mite. She actually put in 2 coins, both coins that she had. But then right after that, Jesus talks, and everybody's admiring the wonderful temple, and he says this temple is going to be torn down, though in 3 days it will be rebuilt. He's not just talking about the physical temple, he's talking about his own body. He's really prophesying his own crucifixion, death, burial, and resurrection. And then right after that, though, comes, beginning in verse 10, a passage that I have really needed to hear right now. I've just been overwhelmed lately by all the things going on, whether it's hurricanes, whether it's other natural disasters, whether it's famines, whether it's wars. I try to watch news that's more from a global perspective, not just our basic American coverage of things. And when I look at things, it's amazing how many conflicts there are in the world, and it's easy to get really bummed out by that. And yet God isn't taken by surprise. He's not taken by surprise even when there's a natural disaster, a hurricane, a tornado, a flood, other things that interrupt our lives. He's not the author of those things. All sin, all death, all suffering is a result of sin. And I think God sheds the first tear whenever there's death and suffering. And yet God is not blown away by those things. God is not shocked by those things. And He manages to leverage those for His glory. But look at this, what He says in Luke 21, beginning in 10. He says, "Then He said to them," that's His followers, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." We're seeing a lot of that, aren't we, right now? "There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and pestilences. There will be terrors and great signs from heaven." That seems to be accelerating the closer that we get to the end of time. "But before all this, they will lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors for my name's sake. This will be your opportunity to bear witness." I follow a ministry called Voice of the Martyrs. I also read a lot from a ministry called Open Doors. There are more people in more places whose lives are under threat simply because they have put their trust in the gospel of Jesus Christ. Again, we don't experience that much of that here in the U.S., but it's common, it's global, and it's growing in intensity. And Jesus says here to His followers, that gives you an opportunity to bear witness. How you respond when you're mistreated for my glory, it's a chance to share. Well, I don't know what to say. How do I respond to that? Look at the next verse, verse 14. "Settle it therefore in your minds, not to meditate beforehand how to answer." Don't stress out, Phil. "For I will give you a mouth and wisdom which none of your adversaries will be able to withstand or contradict. You will be delivered up even by parents and brothers and relatives and friends, and some of you they will put to death. You will be hated by all for my name's sake, but not a hair of your head will perish. By your endurance you will gain your lives." In the midst of all the sobering prophecies comes this just unmistakable promise. This will give you an opportunity to stand for me. Don't worry about what you will say in advance. Don't worry about how will I respond. I hope I don't give in. I'm not sure my faith is strong enough. God will supernaturally empower you with everything you need when that time comes. Our goal is to just make sure that we're spending time with God, that we're taking in the Word, that we're living it out, and then trust the results to Him. What a promise we have, even as we grieve over the loss of life with natural disasters and wars and all of those things. Yet clearly this passage teaches God is in control and He's worthy of our trust. Focus on that even as you read through the rest of Mark and the book of Luke this week. We'll see you next time on Walk Through Voices.